Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, a longtime lobbyist with the Farm Bureau has moved to another company. Mary Kay Thatcher, who has been in many counties in Kansas, is now with Syngenta. We'll talk with her. We'll also hear from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture, as well as the weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. In agriculture news from agview.net, we're continuing to learn more about those devastating floods and tremendous loss of livestock to our neighbors in the north in Nebraska and even portions of Kansas. The Nebraska Farm Bureau has now launched a relief effort to aid Nebraska farmers, ranchers, and those rural communities that were suffering from those natural disasters that took place a few days ago. It's impacted really most of their state. Those relief efforts include the establishment of a disaster relief fund, as well as the launch of an online agriculture disaster exchange to connect those in need with those who can help. Now, if you want to donate money, you can do it to the Disaster Relief Fund, and that'll be targeted to aid Nebraska farmers, ranchers, and those rural communities that were affected by the recent storms as well as all that flooding. Priority is going to be given to efforts to restore health and safety in rural communities and back to the farm and ranch households that were damaged so much and displaced by this natural disaster. Now, if you would like to donate, you can go to nefb.org. Donations can be made to a fund established by the Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation. That is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit, so any donations made to that fund are tax deductible. Well, and Kansas cattlemen and who have been affected by this storm of death losses or even some disease due to the adverse weather conditions could possibly be eligible for compensation through the Livestock Indemnity Program, or LIP, from USDA. An owner or contract grower needs to file a notice of loss with their local county farm service agency office within 30 calendar days of when the livestock loss was first apparent. A separate application for the payment along with supporting documentation must be filed within 60 calendar days after the end of the year of which the eligible loss and the condition did occur. Livestock owners also must record all pertinent information, including things like the number and kind of all livestock, as well as those adversely impacted by eligible loss condition resulting in either death, loss, or disease. Payments are going to be based on losses in excess of normal mortality. Eligible adverse weather events include blizzards, extreme cold, and winter storms that last 3 consecutive days. They're also accompanied by high winds, freezing rain or sleet, along with heavy snowfall and extreme cold temperatures. Well, some weather events that have affected Kansas in the last 30 days probably will meet those criteria. What a winter we have had. You need to be expeditiously check your eligibility for LIP and then file notice of your losses by getting in touch with your local FSA office. Now, we hope to have the State Farm Service Director David Shim on our program here in the coming weeks to get a full explanation of this program and other assistance which may be made available to our farmers and ranchers. Stay with us. You're watching the Kansas Ag Report. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source. agview.net. We're joined now by a friend of Kansas agriculture. I guess I can call a friend of mine, hopefully, unless you get up and walk away. Mary Kay Thatcher, long time with American Farm Bureau, now with Syngenta. Still kind of the same role that you were doing, just to maybe wear a different shirt.
That's absolutely true. You know, I mean, I'm always amazed at Syngenta that it's exactly the same issues I worked on at the Farm Bureau, maybe a little different emphasis in places, but still the great folks. And, you know, we're looking out for our customers. Farm Bureau looking out for their members. They're the same people.
Okay, you're one of the ones in the kind of ag lobby game. You know, it kind of chews you up, spits you out, but you've been able to maintain for a lot of years, been through a lot of farm bills, a lot of fights. Give us your take on how you see things in D.C. right now.
Well, it's pretty dysfunctional, and you know, I have to say that I'm not sure we're going to get any more functional in the last 2 years than we have been for the past 2 years. But I do think that there are opportunities. One of the things that I feel most positive about is you hear Republicans and Democrats alike talking about the need for an infrastructure package and including broadband in that, as well as improvements in roads and rivers, et cetera. And so I think we ought to take advantage of that. And if they're really willing to work together and get something done, certainly when we think about agricultural exports and you think about the Brazilians improving their roads to the ports and the Chinese building the Silk Road and all that, we got to up our game in infrastructure. So let's take advantage of it. Okay,
another challenge, it seems like, is more adaptation of technology. People seem to be a little more leery of it. This, for a while, was happening really fast. It's backed up. With this administration, though, they seem to want to back off on some of the regulations. Of course, with the company you're now with, that's probably a big thing for them, not only with that, but also in supplying the pipeline of products to help farmers.
Absolutely. You know, I without a doubt, probably we've done better with getting rid of some onerous regulations at EPA in the last couple of years than we have for a very long time. And so now I think, you know, there's a lot of focus being done on the regulations overseas because we all know that for years the tariffs have gone down across the board, but as the tariffs have gone down, the non-tariff trade barriers have gone up. So you look at the Europeans and they want to do hazard-based analysis on letting new products in versus the risk-based analysis. And really, I think they largely use that just to keep our products out. You got biotech acceptability. So the regulation game is not only in Washington, but around the world.
What's your take on one of the president's proposals to move couple of those sub-agencies out kind of to the heartland or wherever? Does it matter outside the Beltway?
I'm not sure it really matters outside the Beltway. You know, and we asked several farm groups what they thought shortly after it was announced, and they were like, my guys don't care. And you know, I don't know that they've necessarily decided anyway. I think Beltsville, Maryland, which is the suburb there of D.C., is a real opportunity for that. But I know a lot of states because it would be a lot of money to a lot of folks, and especially if I got added to a land grant or whatever. But I think there are good ways to keep in touch. Certainly now with all of technology, you don't have to be at the office next door.
Right. We're talking with Mary Kay Thatcher with Syngenta. We'll take a break and be back with more in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And agview.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Mary Kay Thatcher with Syngenta, of course with Farm Bureau formerly, is joining us. Many people say, well, what's that on your Syngenta? So, there's always opportunities to go and find new roads. So, we're glad that you're still out there helping agriculture, kind of telling that story from maybe a different standpoint than the rank and file farmer can get to DC a lot. But I want to talk a little bit about the future of farm policy and the future of how this is going to work. I mean, we see now where we do have more turnover in Congress. People are only there a few years, especially in the House. They either go find something else, or the elected says, hey, if you don't give me immediate results. So typically, we look at agriculture policy. It's the long game rather than the hurry up and get something done so I can have instant gratification. So as you look in the future, what do you see? I mean, we always say, this farm bill or the next farm bill is going to be the last one, but we always seem to get that done. So look at the broader picture of farm policy.
So we have been saying, I've heard people say for 15 years, we're never going to have another farm bill. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true about this bill. Do they get more difficult all the time? Absolutely. But I think, the big lesson with farm bills, and for that matter with almost anything ag policy, is we can't do it alone anymore. There was probably a time 30, 35 years ago, certainly longer than that you could. There was enough involvement, percentage of people involved in agriculture, and maybe even more importantly than that, there were people who, I visited my grandfather's farm every summer, or my best friend lived on a farm, and that's just no longer true. So what we have learned in spades, I think, is that we have to continue to join forces, be it with the conservation groups, the environmental groups, certainly the nutrition groups, but it takes a village to get anything, whether it's the farm bill or almost any ag policy done. And we have people all the time that say, just separate food stamps out, we'll go on our way. Well, that would be the last farm bill.
Well, and that's the thing, where you kind of went where I was wanting to go is it's beyond the simple fact of making a couple trips to D.C., wearing your cowboy boots and cowboy hat, which is nothing wrong with that, but you have to bring in other partners, because there is those other pieces that put any farm policy together. There's that from waters of the U.S. to biotechnology to everything. Without that broad coalition to come forth and say, we as several industries coming together, then they say, well, most people assume food's just the grocery store.
Well, the fact that always brings it home to me is we have 55 of the 435 members of Congress who have zero agriculture and zero rural communities in their district. I mean, you're thinking about downtown Chicago and New York and LA. Those people, they don't know about agriculture. They do think milk comes from the grocery store. So we have got to continue to work with people who are important to those 55 members to get things done.
Right. Mary Kay, always great to catch up with you, and I'm sure your friends in Kansas were great to see you, so appreciate it.
Thanks.
Mary Kay Thatcher with Syngenta has joined us from this time around, so stay with us. We'll have more on the Kansas Ag Report.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Farmer investments in international markets produced strong results in marketing year 2018, despite the trade dynamics that were developing as the export period closed last fall. According to the Census Bureau, the United States exported a record-breaking 2.6 billion bushels of soy and soy products, valued at more than $28 billion last market year. It also set a new record in MY18 for the combined volume of whole soybeans, soybean meal, and soybean oil exported. Meal exports saw the greatest growth. The U.S. Soybean Export Council recently initiated the What It Takes strategy to grow U.S. soybean demand in more than 100 markets worldwide, somewhat mitigating China's reduced imports. The program provides opportunities for industry experts and farmers to remind buyers about U.S. soy's intrinsic feed value, mainly its exceptional amino acid content, the nation's reliable transportation system, and farmers' sustainable practices. In 2017, the U.S. soy industry worked to shift a substantial portion of its efforts to markets where there is significant future potential due to factors like large populations, improving economic conditions, and currently low per capita protein and oil consumption. Sizable export growth has been seen in developing markets, including Pakistan, Egypt, and India. Global demand is expected to grow by about 500 million bushels in 2019. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org/trade on the web.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
Severe Weather Awareness Week in March reminded Kansans to take steps to prepare for all kinds of weather. And in the spring, one of the biggest risks is potential flooding. The Floodplain Management Team and the Kansas Department of Agriculture's Division of Water Resources wants all Kansans to be aware of flooding risks and to take action to reduce your vulnerability. Floods can happen anytime, anywhere, and without warning. Last fall saw severe flooding in Kansas, and this spring will bring seasonal rainfall, which can produce the potential for flooding. When floods occur, You need to know your risk, take action, and be a force of nature. First, know your risk before flood. Be aware of the potential flooding risks for your area. Second, take action before and during a flood. Prepare an emergency kit and monitor your local radio or TV for information. Be aware that flash flooding can occur and don't drive into flooded areas. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Finally, be a force of nature. Help your community by sharing with your friends and neighbors how you have prepared for flooding and encourage others to be aware of flooding dangers as well. Flooding is the most common natural disaster in America and causes an average of $80 billion a year in damage. Our floodplain management team uses advanced digital data to map flood hazard areas as accurately as possible, and we update those floodplain maps periodically to keep pace with new technology and changing communities. We have many useful resources on our website, including the Current Effective Floodplain Map Viewer, where you can check the flood risk zone of any property, or the Floodplain Current, a story map with extensive information on the floodplain mapping process. You can also stay up to date about current mapping projects by exploring draft maps and related documents. Find all of that and more at agriculture.ks.gov/floodplain.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source. agview.net.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Members of the Kansas beef community were in Topeka earlier in March for an advanced beef advocacy workshop. The two-day training organized by the Kansas Beef Council and National Cattlemen's Beef Association was designed to equip attendees with the tools and experience necessary to effectively engage consumers and the media. During the checkoff-funded workshop, participants were able to enhance their skills as advocates and spokespeople for the beef community. Educational sessions focused on the various social media platforms available for use in sharing the beef story and beef's role in a healthy diet, refining interview skills, creating powerful presentations, and using live video on social media. Presenters on the program included National Cattlemen's Beef Association Director of Grassroots Advocacy and Spokesperson Training Ryan Goodman, Kansas Beef Council staff, and beef community advocates and ranchers Ren and Arturo Pacheco of Alma and Jamie Lindemood from Eureka. This was the second year for the Beef Council to host the top advocate training program in Kansas. The 2019 class included Kayla Sandoval Gardner from Ashland, Gretchen Stroberg of Hutchinson, Barrett Simon from Beloit, Caitlin Henderson of Anthony, Tammy Simons from Leota, Anna Curry of Madison, Jill Tregemba from Lawrence, and Anthony Ruiz from Marion.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source. agview.net.
Good morning. I'm Darren Van Vactor with Paragon Ag. It's been a fairly quiet week from a news headline standpoint, and definitely more focused on weather. Our latest round of crazy weather includes the bomb cyclone that impacted northeast Kansas, eastern Colorado, and Nebraska, as well as the flooding in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those impacted. Taking a look at the markets, we continue to monitor the U.S.-China trade talks, which seem to be progressing, but the official deal continues to get pushed and details are lacking. The latest reports have higher-level U.S. trade officials heading to China this week and Chinese officials traveling back to the U.S. the following week. USDA released its latest cattle on feed report on Friday afternoon, and as usual, we'll have to wait until Monday to see how the data is digested. As for the grains, everyone is anxiously awaiting the prospective plantings report. The USDA is scheduled to release the estimates on Friday, the 29th at 11 a.m. Analysts are expecting to see a bump in corn and a decline in beans. It is always an interesting debate. Ultimately, Mother Nature will have a lot to say about it. There is potential planting concerns with the current weather conditions. Keep in mind, corn is hovering around $4 and beans is hanging in the upper third of the market considering the last 9 months. There are things that can be done. We'd be happy to discuss them. Give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors, 888-452-8751. I'm Darren Van Vactor. Be safe and have a great week.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Well, that is the show. Be social with us online at kansasagreport.net or on Facebook and Twitter. In the weeks ahead, conversations with the new Kansas Secretary of Agriculture, Mike Beam, and that Kansas State Farm Service Director, David Shem. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.